Welcome to the Raging Takes podcast with your hosts, Brian Dixon, Kai Zabo, and Dylan Peters.
What up, you turkeys? Welcome to episode 145 of the Raging Takes podcast. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. I'm your host, Brian Dixon, joined as always by my co-hosts, Kai, the Commissioner Zabo, and Dylan Peters. Good evening.
Salutations.
Howdy.
You are a howdy guy now, huh?
You
Dylan,
know what? Yeah.
Dylan reported in the group chat earlier that he was now going to be a howdy guy.
Like,
so I honestly didn't know what that meant, and now I do. It just all clicked right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty much now a guy that just says howdy.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to stick with. I'm going to do that until I die, like a normal man.
Yeah, that's normal. This will be the second go around with episode 145 because I forgot to upload the podcast on Saturday. So I've been trying to find a way to convince myself it was Kai's fault. I can't do it. It's my fault. I'm going to take the blame for this one. In my heart, it's still Kai's fault somehow, though.
That was the one with our Super Bowl picks, I believe.
It was. Me and Dylan picked the Chiefs. Kai picked the Eagles. So that means Kai and I tied for the win.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the playoff standings.
And I'm just out.
Rock, paper, scissors for the tiebreaker?
No, you can have it. You win everything. So you can just have this one, too.
And your team won, you know. I want to start this episode off, first off, by just saying, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Kai, unfortunately.
Rotten bastard.
It's been quite a year.
Yeah, he won both of the fantasy leagues that I commissioned for, and then he also won the Super Bowl. So yeah, what a lucky guy this guy is.
That means I'm due for some very bad years ahead.
Yeah, if life were fair, that was what would happen, but we both know that you're just going to keep winning. So yeah.
Well,
me and Dylan will be losing a lot for the next however many decades, probably. Yeah. So, but Kai's the winner of the podcast, so it's okay.
Sounds like you guys need to check your karmic balance.
Dude, bullshit.
I refuse.
In this life, guys like Kai win. They win. Right? They're Eagles fans. They get 4 Super Bowl appearances since 2000, and that's adding 4 years on. So he will for sure see 4 more Super Bowl appearances, and then I will just simply perish without having seen one.
It's like, how old's Howie Roseman? Like in his 40s, maybe early 50s? He's still got like a couple decades to go before he retires. If he just stays in Philadelphia forever, this is going to be horrible, dude. The Eagles are going to be constantly good.
Nick Sirianni's pretty young, too, if it all works out down the line.
Yeah, but he's a fraud.
Oh,
dude,
stop.
I'm just kidding.
Dude, by the Eagles records, if they don't go back to the Super Bowl next year, Nick Sirianni's fired.
That's what I was gonna. That's actually what I was going to talk about later when we actually talk about the game. But yeah, I do have something to say about that.
Doug got ousted, and he won the Super Bowl. He was ousted 18 months later.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That is true.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah.
Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. Still, he got fired like 12 years ago.
Dude.
No loyalty over there.
Andy Reid was different though. There was like a 3 or 4 year gap where it was kind of just like, all right, we're not really getting anywhere. It's time to move on.
We went to 8 straight conference championship games. We haven't been the last 2 years. Get this fat lard out of here, dude.
It's hard to stay relevant in the NFL as long as like the Eagles kind of have, Since I've been a fan of football, there's been a couple of years where the Eagles had stinky teams. But there's also been very few years where they're stinky teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the overwhelming majority, the Eagles have been good for like 15 years that I've been a fan.
Up until 2018, the whole idea behind the Eagles was they've never won a Super Bowl before. So, we still did have that laughing stock kind of.
I don't know if they were laughing. Laughing stock is the Bears, the Raiders, the Redskins, the Browns. Those are laughing stocks,
in terms of a Super Bowl, though, the Bears haven't had one where the Eagles didn't up until that point.
Do you know what's crazy? Okay, so I'll point this out, and I'll just go ahead and say this now.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you can be up until 2018 without a Super Bowl. People talk about the Bears Super Bowl. People forget that was 40 plus years ago, dude. It was like 40 years ago.
It was 40 on the dot. Yeah.
Yeah, 40 years ago. So, hey, I don't want to say anything, but that's almost worse. You know, we're have-beens. You guys are recent, and you've done it, and you're doing it. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Also, the Eagles have just been relevant like every year for the last 20 years, basically, right? There's been, like Dylan said, there's been a couple down years, but they went from Donovan McNabb to Michael Vick for a couple years. Were successful with him. Nick Foles came in. He had a couple successful seasons. Then they drafted Carson Wentz, and he was really good for him. Then Nick Foles wins the Super Bowl for him.
I mean, I see what you guys are saying.
Then they bring in Jalen Hurts and Jalen. This is like they've had like 6 more quarterbacks than I ever have. For fuck's sake, like decent ones. Well, Wentz, I guess, is okay, but
yeah. I mean, if we're going off of recency bias, then yes.
Dude, I just want to put it out there. Yeah. You know what? My team's best player thinks he's a Pirate, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on. From
DJ Moore thinks he's a Pirate?
No, Caleb Williams thinks he's a Pirate. Pretty sure that guy's worn more than one eye patch in his life. So I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say.
Just got painted nails and an eye patch walking around Chicago. All right, let's on today's show. Sorry, we have a Super Bowl recap. Jesus, Super Bowl recap. We have a coaching carousel update, and also before we move on to NFL honors, we went over the NFL honors in the podcast, the Lost podcast that we're going to call it now, the Lost podcast. Technically, the second Lost podcast that we've ever had. Long story. I think basically, long story short, we got one thing correct combined of the three of us, and I believe it was Kai's, right? Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse.
Jared Verse, yeah.
Other than that, nothing. So there you go. There's our 145A recap. This is 145B. Let's get to the news. Let's get to the news.
We got to do better on that next time, dude. We got to do much, much, much better.
Yeah, Kai. You got to do better.
He's talking about the awards.
Anyway, Kellen Moore accepts the Saints head coaching job. We already knew that this was going to happen. Kind of cool that he goes and wins the Super Bowl in the Superdome, and now he just now he's their coach. Kind of cool. Yeah. He'll be remembering that every single game on the sideline for New Orleans, I assume. Brandon Staley's the leading candidate to become the Saints defensive coordinator. Brandon Staley, there's like a negative aura around his name right now, obviously, because of the Chargers stint, but he's a pretty solid defensive coordinator, honestly. Who was he with before the Rams? Was he not?
Yeah. Well, he had a quick ascension through within 2 years, he was their defensive coordinator, I believe, from like a linebackers coach or something. He coached for the Bears in 2016, 2017, I think. Then after that, it was quick.
I think that could work out. I assume Kellen Moore is going to call the plays for the offense. So
I sure hope so.
That's a pretty solid combination, I think. I mean, New Orleans, we'll see about the quarterback situation. We'll see about the cap situation. But as of right now, I think Saints fans could feel slightly optimistic about this combination.
Dude, he needs to bring in a seasoned, grizzled veteran offensive coordinator that knows the ins and outs of how to run a team too, because this is a shit show, dude.
Yeah.
The Saints in general?
I don't think he should have taken this job in general. It's complete teardown rebuild.
Yeah. No, I mean, me and you were in agreement on this last time we talked about this, but we both thought that Kellen Moore should probably stay another year with Philly. Just have another good year, keep adding to your resume, and then maybe by the time the next coaching carousel comes around, there's a lot better jobs lined up. I mean, because this Saints job is trash. It's trash.
But what if, first off, you got to think of personally, the payday increase is going to be massive going to be a head coach compared to staying in Philadelphia. And what happens if the Eagles have a down year next year? I don't think any of us expect that to happen, but you never know. Injuries happen. I don't know if he had a lot of good seasons with Dallas. This was the first time I've ever heard his name pop up.
I mean, either way, he's still going to have a Super Bowl win on his resume. Someone's going to take a shot on him, even if the Eagles have a down year, in my opinion.
I don't think anything's guaranteed in the NFL. I understand what you guys are saying. I'm not saying I wouldn't have stayed with Philadelphia for one more year, but I think what's going on in his mind is that the obviously the paycheck, and then just being able to like leave your own lasting impact and being able to run team, that's hard to turn down when it's in your face.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
But at the same time though, like, can you really expect yourself to be there more than 2 years?
Who knows?
I mean,
the Saints seem to dig themselves out of cap stuff every single year, right?
Yes.
They always field at least a talented roster, even if it doesn't win a lot of games.
Think to myself, Kellen Moore, if he's thinking legacy, if he's thinking, okay, you know, I'm going to take a payday. I got a Super Bowl win under my belt as the coordinator. You know, if he's not thinking, where can I go that gives me the best opportunity to win, and he just wants a payday, that's fine. But I think, honestly, what he just believes in himself, probably. Kellen Moore, he's always been involved with somewhat success. Like, he's always had his hand in some sort of successful offensive scheme, good teams. You know, he's a good play caller. He's proved that. He's an excellent play caller. You know, so if he believes he can do it with the Saints, and like Brian said, they do put out good rosters.
Yeah.
Like, still, like, division competing rosters. This year was a down year, you know, but that was to be seen. But they still did show that talent. The first, like, that's what's inescapable to me is, like, you don't just score 80-plus points 2 weeks in a row and you don't have a talented roster. Something went wrong there, you know? So we'll see. But they need a quarterback still, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it's their biggest need, but yeah, I think obviously you're not going to feel amazing about going into the next season with Derek Carr. I think there's definitely worse starting quarterbacks in the league than him, but it's not going to like spring a lot of optimism that you're going to go win a Super Bowl with him. But you never know. Maybe Kellen Moore's a Derek Carr whisperer.
Dude,
he's had good seasons before.
Yeah, it's for sure. But what I'm saying is, like, Kellen Moore's career shouldn't be linked to Derek Carr. Like, the front office should go out and invest in a quarterback, get a quarterback for that team, get another receiver other than Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, go get weapons, and then you have a team. Because, like,
well, they need an O-line badly too. That was a big issue for them last season.
I thought it was the fact that they started Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler for like 9 games combined.
Yeah, I mean, they had no choice.
That's what happened. I thought that's what happened.
Well, that too, yeah.
And they also had a goofball head coach for the first half of the season too.
Yeah,
goofball,
major goofball. Remember the Chicago Bears now. Could work out though.
Hey, defense. If he's going to be a coordinator, that's fine. You know what? I find to be interesting is this is totally off topic. I'll be quick, but I think Ben Johnson's a psychopath. So I think we'll be fine, dude. I just think not like a bad psychopath. Okay, I just think anything, he goes to the max with everything. And I'm talking about like I feel like he's got like that OCD brain where it's just incomplete tasks would drive him crazy. He won't sleep at night kind of guy. That's what he seems like. I don't think Dennis Allen's energy can crack that. He is a goofball.
Yeah, he is a little bit of a goofball. Same argument with like Brandon Staley though, right? You don't want him anywhere near the actual running the team responsibilities, but if you just stay in your lane over here and just shut the fuck up, I think we'll be okay.
Dude, it's going to be Kellen Moore is going to be looking at Brandon Staley like, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm not going for it on 4th down. Shut up. Get out of my face.
Next up, Deebo Samuel has asked the 49ers to trade him. I think this is a split that needs to happen, honestly, for the betterment of both parties. First off, Deebo just cost way too much money for like the production that he put out this year for the 49ers. And the 49ers already have other talent elsewhere that they can kind of rely on. They don't really need Deebo. Where do you guys think that Deebo, like who should trade for Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I'm kind of like not out on Deebo Samuel as like a talented player. And I think like maybe being on the 49ers with so much talent around, maybe he wasn't being used to his full potential, you know, being the focal point of an offense, at least somewhat. I don't know. I mean, you could honestly make an argument for most teams where Deebo Samuel can go.
I think it's going to be tough for them to trade him with his contract situation, with the money that he's owed, with his production last year and he's on tape, dude. He's on film being a shitty player. Awful player. No effort. Bad teammate. No fucking effort. No care for the team. Was a huge reason. Like, they needed him to step up whenever it was time, and he did not step up for that team. And I think that's what's going to really hold him back. I think teams are going to see that effort. They're not going to see a team player, and they're not going to want to pay the money on the contract when he comes in. They're going to make the Niners pay. So Deebo's going to get traded for like a 6th-round pick, and it's going to drive people crazy. People are going to be like, how would you do that, dude? Money.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get traded. I think they're going to have to cut him.
Someone's going to pick him. Someone's going to pick him up.
Well, he's gonna play football next year. I think they're gonna cut him though. I don't think someone's gonna trade for him. He costs too much money. And he looked bad last year, straight up. It wasn't like a 49er issue. It was a him issue.
Well, and like if it comes, I guess.
That's what I think. That's my prediction. I could be wrong.
I kind of just think he doesn't want to be there. Like he didn't want to be there at all this season. So I don't know. I think maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, wait a minute, dudes. Be happy on the team that has a Super Bowl window wide open during the prime of your career. Never. Yeah. Don't be happy you're there.
Oh. Well, also, how successful he is too is how the 49ers use him. And it's like, if he gets traded somewhere else, is that team going to use him the same exact way? I don't know if he fits other teams like that. Like, I mean, is he an elite wide receiver, or is he just like a really good playmaker? I think he might just be like a really good playmaker.
I mean, I had a team fit in mind, but
well, give it out. Let's hear it. Spit it out.
I was kind of thinking the Steelers.
I know that's out of the conference too. That's possible.
You know, I was kind of thinking
the Steelers.
It might be a little bit of a disastrous combo having George Pickens and Deebo in the same locker room.
But Jesus.
I kind of feel like Mike Tomlin would be the guy that takes on these like troublemakers, or
he is the one that deals with like Le'Veon
and
Bell
they need another
and Brown, right?
They need another wide receiver. I mean, I don't know if Deebo's the one, but it's intriguing.
Yeah, the Giants are in a prime position to possibly add a quarterback to a team with Malik Neighbors, and then also trade for Deebo Samuel. That way you'd have, Deebo Samuel, Malik Neighbors, and whoever else the Giants trot out there, Wan'Dale Robinson. Yeah. So I think he would also compensate for a team that doesn't necessarily have a run game that is crazy, like the Giants. Like they don't really have a run game to speak of. Deebo Samuel could help that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind either one of those. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers in a second. My favorite team for Aaron Rodgers to land on currently in my head is the Steelers. I kind of think that makes somewhat sense, like as much sense as anyone would be to add Aaron Rodgers. And if he does that, Devontae would come with him, I assume.
God, could Mike Tomlin handle Aaron Rodgers though?
From what I've heard, they have a pretty solid relationship. I've seen them talk before, like on sidelines and shit like that, and they seem to have like a mutual respect for each other. I don't think anyone can control Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but
I said handle though.
I think Tomlin would have probably the best chance out of any of the teams looking for a quarterback. I mean, I think Rodgers respects him a lot too.
That's a Super Bowl ready team too. They've proven it.
Technically, yeah.
With better quarterback play. But considering that, dude, I'm not even sold that Aaron Rodgers produces better quarterback play than Russell Wilson does.
I think he did this year.
I think he would. Honestly, I liked what I saw the last month of the season. I think maybe he turned the corner in the Achilles thing.
I mean,
he looked really good in that last game. By the way, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers are expected to part ways. That's why we're talking about that. This is the last.
His stats on paper weren't bad either. Aaron Rodgers.
No, he just didn't pass the eye test.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of that was just him just getting used to everything. Plus, the Jets are just so dysfunctional and shit. It's probably hard to go to. I mean, we're all looking for the guy who did this, right? But they're dysfunctional partly because of him, but also it's probably hard to go to work with that team the way it was being handled last year too, with like the Woody Johnson reports and then all this other shit. So even outside of Aaron Rodgers
and the Steelers are the total opposite of what the Jets are in terms of how that organization is run. So maybe Rodgers could work out there.
Apparently, according to, I believe it was Diana Rossini, she came out with a report that said that the Jets basically gave him an ultimatum, Rodgers, that if he wanted to be back on the Jets next season, he would have to stop going on Pat McAfee every week.
Oh my God, dude. Why would you even ask a guy like Aaron Rodgers to Dude, that's trying to limit his freedom of speech.
Yeah, dude, he's all about that shit.
You can't ask Aaron Rodgers not to do anything, dude.
Well, I feel like they probably knew that already, and they knew that the answer would be no, and that's their way of saying, okay, peace out then. Aaron Glenn at the press conference didn't sound like he was like fully committing to Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. So I think the Jets kind of already expected this, and they were like, we already know he's going to say no to this, so we might as well do this, make him mad, and then we can just cut ties and just start over again.
Sounds like a 17-year-old.
Brick Johnson made this call, yeah.
Yep.
So my prediction will be Steelers. I'm not like even close to 100% or anything like that. That's just I think that's the team that makes the most sense in my head.
All right. So
you guys think anybody else?
Deebo Samuel and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to the Steelers?
I think no. I think if that happens, no Deebo. I think if now the other rumor is that Devontae wants to go back to the West Coast. But it seems like they want to stay together though. So I doubt Adams is coming back to the Raiders. What other West Coast team needs a quarterback? I can't really think of any.
I guess maybe Seahawks, depending what happens with Geno Smith.
Nobody.
Mike McDonald the other day was talking up Geno, so I think they're going to keep him.
Literally nobody. Literally no
nobody.
Teams you got to remember, there's like no teams on the West Coast either. So
there's like 6 or 7, yeah. Most of them have. I think the only one that might have a new quarterback next year be the Rams, but I don't think that they're going to trade Stafford and bring in Rodgers. That seems like a downgrade, right? That doesn't seem like something McVay would do. So I wouldn't be shocked if Stafford's gone, but I don't think they'll replace him with an older guy.
I was going to say too.
Probably draft somebody.
I was going to say too. I really doubt Rodgers would move to LA.
I don't know why.
Oh, I mean, just like basing his whole political ideologies and the person he is.
Yeah, and his ex-fiance lives there. It's gross.
I don't think that would be that big of a deal for him.
Yes.
Taxes.
He'd be way closer.
Oh
to
yeah,
his family.
He couldn't afford the taxes. You're right, Kai. There's no way.
Oh, I was saying, I think he would be too close to his family.
I see. Yeah, maybe. They're in Northern California. That's okay. They're in Northern California.
Too close.
Okay. Super Bowl recap. I mean, too bad we didn't do the Super Bowl draft after this. I feel like this could have been 101 for worst Super Bowl. Chiefs versus Eagles 2 here.
Yeah, this was bad.
What are you doing that face for? This is a horrible game, guy.
I mean, you're right. It was satisfying, but it was like
34-0 at one point.
I know. In terms of competitiveness, it was like, ugh, okay.
It was 34-0 with a minute left in the third quarter, dude.
The only
I
other
just saw Justice and I liked it.
The only other blowout of this caliber was Broncos Seahawks, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where just one team just completely shit on the other team, at least in our era, in the last like 2 decades. I can't think of another one. So this has got to be up there for one of the worst ones. Eagles 40, Chiefs 22. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, well deserved. I actually thought he played one of his better games of his career, honestly. It's kind of funny because statistically, definitely not. He's had better statistical games than this, but he really only made one mistake the entire game, and it was that interception. Like every other decision he did was like perfect. The throws, the when to run, the pocket presence. Yeah, like he was just lights out the entire time. And then also like Spagnuolo was dialing up blitzes just constantly, and he just read them perfectly, like every time, and just got the ball out immediately, throwing it deep to AJ Brown, throw it deep to Devontae. It was a great game from Hurts. He went 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, that interception, and then 72 rushing yards and a tush push touchdown. So very deserving of the Super Bowl MVP. It was either that or you just give it to all of the defensive linemen, which I don't think is even possible, but they deserved it too. Saquon. Got that one right. I got one of my bold calls was correct. 1 out of 3.
I bet on it.
Saquon limited on the ground, 25 for 57, and then 6 for 40 through the air. Honestly, probably his worst game of the year, right? I don't remember him getting bottled up like that at all this year. I think he had 14 100-yard games this year or something like that. Out of 18 or whatever, how many they played?
No, it was 20? By far his worst game on the ground, but he was still making impact plays through the air when he needed to.
Yeah,
dude. I think that it was his statistical worst game of the season, right? But he was still so useful to the Eagles, even with only 57 yards. The 25 carries, Still showed that he's a workhorse. Still showed that he's taking those carries and made the Chiefs respect the line of scrimmage the entire game. Something which the Chiefs did not do against the Eagles. Once again, run the ball, dude.
Yeah, they didn't at all.
I feel like the defense was just like kind of honed in on stopping Saquon, which was probably their game plan, to be honest with you. But then Jalen Hurts just made him pay. You're kind of letting Jalen Hurts beat you, and he'd beat you. So, just didn't work out this time, I guess, for them. Devontae and A.J. Brown both caught touchdowns. Devontae was 4 for 69. Brown was 3 for 43. Honestly, that OPI call at the beginning of the game for A.J. Brown, I'm the only person on earth that thought that was a penalty, apparently. That he pushed him in the face. That's textbook OPI, right? It was pushed off in his face. It was pushed off in his face.
It was so soft. Yeah. It was so soft.
That was a Brendan Marshall patented push off. That's the 50-50 push off. You can call a flag on that all you want, dude, or you don't. That's the game of football. It's like holding. It's like pass interference or defensive holding or illegal contact. Probably happens on every single play, one hit way or the other. So.
And then he had Mike Pereira up in the booth like, oh, I don't like that call. Mike Pereira, you would have called that 10 times out of 10 if you were still reffing, dude.
Oh.
You kidding me? Mike Pereira.
And when their game started off like that, you're like, oh, here we go. Because, like, don't get me wrong, Brian, it was a penalty, but there's been way more egregious versions of that have not been called in big games before. And I think that's where the discrepancy starts with not agreeing with that. Because you're like, okay, well, I've seen worse shit happen but not be called. So it's like, what do we do in here? I think that's the outrage, at least on my end.
Okay. You seem outraged.
I thought it was very fucking stupid call. Like, the Eagles ended up stomping a mud hole in their brain, but still, bad call, I think.
That throw to Devontae too. I think that was the one to make it 40-0, right, or 34-0.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was amazing. Eagles defensive line 6 sacks. Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks. The Eagles did this basically with no blitzes. Was that confirmed? 0 blitzes confirmed?
Yep.
Or
yeah, I believe so.
0 blitzes for a 38% pressure rate.
Pretty good. And it's like the Chiefs offensive line, they're not as good as the Eagles, but they're still solid. They're pretty good. They have quite a few Pro Bowlers on that offensive line.
They have 3 All-Pros on that offensive line.
You could probably argue that the other 2 that aren't All-Pros are a little weak, but the 3 All-Pros you think would be able to hammer home a Super Bowl win or at least stop 4 down linemen from getting to Patrick Mahomes constantly, but apparently not. Cooper DeJean, pick 6 on his birthday, his first ever interception in the NFL too, so that's pretty special for him. Honestly, I like I said, I hate the Eagles. Happy for the kid. That's a pretty awesome. That's a pretty awesome moment. I can't even lie. That's got to be one of the better feelings in the entire world. And then Mahomes, I said Jalen Hurts had one of his better games, maybe his best game of his career. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think this was his worst game of his career. People were comparing it to the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. He was awful in that game too, but this one was like particularly bad. This was so bad. I think he had like 34 yards halfway through the third quarter or something like that. So he had like 24 at halftime, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So just so bad. And they only had 1 first down the entire first half, the Chiefs. And it was their first play of the game. There's the first offensive play of the game. It was like an 11-yard play to Juju, I think. And then they just didn't have a first down again for the rest of the first half. It was just complete, utter dominance by Philly. Mahomes was 21 of 32, 257, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, a lost fumble. Those stats are all garbage time stats. The game was already way out of hand.
It was like all fourth quarter.
And honestly, the throw that he had to it was Worthy, wasn't it? Like the 70-yard bomb or whatever the fuck. That was amazing. That was like one of the better throws of the entire game between either quarterback, but it just came way too fucking late in the game. That was a missile. Chiefs running backs 9 for 24 combined. My Kareem Hunt take, not good. Xavier Worthy, the lone bright spot for KC, but also remember this was all garbage time. 8 for 157 and 2. Probably gonna not be remembered for that ever. I don't think anyone's gonna go back and like, remember when Xavier Worthy popped off in the Super Bowl? I think we're gonna forget that almost immediately. But nice garbage time game from Xavier Worthy. Hopefully he can take that and kind of transport it to next season where he could be maybe like a better fantasy option for us, maybe.
I was going to ask you guys about that. Yeah. So how do you view Worthy going into next season as a fantasy player? I have him in Dynasty as well, so I just kind of wanted to hear your opinions.
You want to go first, Dill?
Yeah, man. I think in redrafts, he's still not going to get drafted as a wide receiver 1 or 2. Maybe like a low end 2. I think it really depends on what the Chiefs do in the offseason. If they roll into next year with the same crew, you can expect similar numbers, I think. Like, I don't necessarily think that Xavier Worthy is going to explode onto the scene with like a top 5 fantasy finish, but if he does, he does. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of other players as well. So I'm not necessarily sure on him yet.
I think they're going to need to get somebody else in there that can take the pressure off of him, because I don't know if he's like a number 1 guy yet. True, Rice will come back. I didn't even think about that. Rice will come back. Yeah. Pretty nasty injury. Hopefully he can recover and be the player he was before. So that was a pretty rough knee injury. Hopefully he'll be ready for the start of the season. I assume he will be, but I'm not sure. I don't know if he can be like the focal point of the offense yet. So if he's like their number 1 option, I'd be a little nervous to draft him, but it's kind of like a high risk, high reward type thing. He's going to have a really high ceiling and a really low floor. I think people are probably going to, I think he'll probably go like in the 5th, 6th round, I would guess, something like that. And it'll be basically just off of pure potential.
The team. The opportunity, Patrick Mahomes.
Team, the quarterback, the speed. Obviously, everything is there to set him up for having a really good fantasy season. But that was like that this year too, and he kind of struggled for a lot of the season. And the chemistry wasn't really on par there with Mahomes. Seems like they're starting to get that going a little bit. I would draft him, but it would just be like a potential thing, or it's just like if I draft this guy, he could be a league winner. He could also completely just tank and just be on my bench the entire year too. So
but best case scenario, I think he is like a very, very strong flex candidate if he hits his ceiling next year, which I think is probably like wide receiver 15 to 20. Nothing crazy, but you're gonna roster him and you're gonna play him, and he's gonna have hot streaks, that kind of guy. But start him every week? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Yeah. Not with what I've seen from Kansas City, how stinky their offense can be at times.
Yeah.
Fantasy-wise, they win games, but when you win a game 19 to 15 or some shit like that, you're not scoring that many fantasy points.
Well, that style of play caught up to them because they just couldn't do that against the Eagles. They weren't going to hold them to 19
that's
points.
True.
So it's just, man. DeAndre Hopkins, kind of a tough game for him. He scored a touchdown, 2 for 18, but he had that horrible drop on 4th down. I think he was wide open. Yeah. Once that happened, I was like, uh-oh, this might not be their day right now.
Chiefs are cooked, bro. They cooked themselves live on TV.
I was still kind of like, I still think the Chiefs might come back and win this game.
I was thinking it too for a while.
There was 3 moments that it was just like 1 strike, 2 strike. Okay, 3 strikes, you're out. First strike was the Hopkins drop. I was like, okay, maybe not. Because if Hopkins is dropping balls, that's not going to be good. Second one was, they had the ball at like the 10-yard line with like a minute 40 to work in the first half. The Chiefs did, and then they were going to get the ball to start the second half. So I was like, okay, I think they were down by 17 or 24, 21 at that point. I was like, okay, you score here, and then you get the ball at halftime, score again, you're right back in the game. I literally said that, and then he threw the pick to Cooper DeJean right after I said that. I was like, okay, well, there's strike 2. And then strike 3 was they didn't score to open the second half at all, where they could have maybe talk to each other in the locker room. Maybe Andy Reid gives like a big speech. Maybe Mahomes gives a big speech. You go out there fired up, all business-like, as I believe Aaron Andrews called it at the start of the second half. And then, nope, it was like a 3-and-out punt. Or maybe they got a first down and then punted immediately after that. It was just like, okay. As soon as that happened, I was like, okay, I think this is over then, for sure.
Dude, the Zach Bond interception was the second one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So my girlfriend, right? We're sitting there, and she's like, I think he's going to throw an interception. And then 2 seconds later, Zach Bond picks the ball off at the 14-yard line. And I was just like,
maybe that was the one I was thinking of. Maybe it wasn't DeJean. Maybe it was Zach Bond.
Dude, immediately the intercept. I was like, as soon as they got picked off at their 14, I knew the game was almost out of reach because I knew the Eagles had like this momentum going, and it stopped at some point. But when it was up, dude, It was 34-7. Okay. And I understand the announcers got to keep these games sounding interesting. Right. And the amount of times I heard like, this was like at the end of the third quarter, dude, 34-7. Oh, you never know. They could come back.
To be fair, the guy that came back down 28-3 was in the booth talking.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, I'm not playing in this game. If I was playing in this game,
if I was playing for the Chiefs,
if I was on the Chiefs right now, this game would not be out of reach. But since I'm not down there, this game's out of reach. Nah, dude, I was like, come on, dude. We act like we didn't just watch like 45 minutes of one of the biggest ass kickings we've ever seen in a football game, really. I'm not going to lie, dude. In a football game.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
In general, that was one of the biggest ass kickings ever. That was like as if the Eagles were to play like, dude, let's just say the winless Cleveland Browns from like 2016 or whatever. That's what that game seemed like for 3 quarters.
Can we stop with the Mahomes is better than Brady talk? I know we don't do that.
But
I
mean, yeah, that's
just in general. That's crazy.
That's completely.
It always has been crazy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just like complete recency bias. First off, Mahomes has now been blown out twice in the Super Bowl. Brady got blown out, 0 times, I want to say. His 3 losses, I think, were all close, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, Brady's not going out there getting his ass beat by 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. That's crazy. And now Brady is 2-0 against Mahomes in the playoffs. And then Mahomes loses the game that Tom Brady is calling for the Super Bowl, too. It's like, oh, maybe Brady can't be around. Also, Brady's been there for both Eagles Super Bowls, too. So he's good luck for the Eagles, bad luck for Kansas City.
Damn.
That's funny.
Dude, if you blind rated all of like the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, like a 5-year chunk out of their career, their best 5-year chunk out of their career, and you looked at them side by side and you had to pick which one was best, you probably might pick Patrick Mahomes in a 5-year span, but you also, there's very, very likely you don't, because you'd be picking guys like Drew Brees' numbers, Peyton Manning's numbers, Tom Brady's numbers. Those Aaron Rodgers peak 5 years, the 5 years of Aaron Rodgers' best years in his career, you're picking those. If you don't think about Super Bowls, if you don't think about any other accolades, just numbers on paper, Patrick Mahomes isn't even the best.
I made a similar argument with our friend of the show, Joey, the other night when me and him were talking. I was like, I don't know if Mahomes is better than I personally, I still think Peyton Manning is better than Patrick Mahomes. Personally, that is one that I 100% believe is better.
Yeah,
I was kind of making the argument like I might still take Brees and Rodgers, dude. Like if you don't count Super Bowls, like Brees and Rodgers had amazing seasons and just legendary quarterbacks. I don't know, like Mahomes isn't 2 or 3 for me. Still, doesn't mean he won't be at the end of his career, but I don't know. The last couple of years, he's just kind of been like he's won a ton of games, but he's just been like an above average quarterback statistically. Yeah. So I don't know. Personally, I don't think he's ever going to get above Brady for me. After the 28-3 Super Bowl, I kind of like locked that in where I'm like, okay, Tom Brady's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Super Bowls, he's got the stats, he's got the longevity. Mahomes has to do a lot more for him to go over Brady, in my opinion, for me personally.
I think this might be the lull, and I hope it really is. I hope that they have this dynasty, dude. If you're going to have a dynasty, dude, they already do. They want to say, oh, the 3-peat. They have a dynasty, dude. They've won 3 Super Bowls in 6 years now, right? Take that. Or was it 5?
They're 3 and 5, I want to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, whatever it is, they've got 3. Take 7 years, dude, like the Patriots did from like 2009 or 2010 to like 2017, right? They had that lull, or 16. There was like a 6-year, 5-year, 6-year period where they didn't go to the Super Bowl. Do that, dude.
Please do that.
Please.
We're sick of you.
Please do it, dude.
But now it's opening up the Eagles to step in and do that too. So
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I won't. I refuse to take that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs like start declining a little bit from here on out. It really depends on this offseason. Yeah.
Well, it's like the receiving room already wasn't like we'll see about Rice coming back from an injury. We already talked about Worthy. Kelsey could retire. Even if he stays on, he's not as good as he used to be. I mean, he struggled in the playoffs, dude. That was the one thing where it's like, okay, we'll save him for the playoffs. He'll pop off. He did great in the divisional round, and then he was a no-show in the championship game and the Super Bowl.
Dude, there's a play with Travis Kelce who was lined up in line, tight end, in line, boom, tight, right? 3-point stance. I was like, Travis Kelce in a 3-point stance? Really? Blown by a guy, dude. He just goes, and Travis Kelce the ball was snapped. He didn't move as soon as it was snapped, dude. The dude had his opposite hand on Travis Kelce's back. Like that. And I went, oh, he's toast, dude. He's not a blocker. He is a receiving tight end, and he's an aging receiving tight end. Going to get easier and easier to read, dude. You got 3 moves. Maybe going down to 2 now. You got your 2 best pitches. Okay? That's what you're down to. You're not a 5-pitch guy anymore, bud.
Kai, is that a Super Bowl logo on that football helmet behind you?
Yeah, I just got it. At work that day, they were giving them out, and because we were slow at work, I took one home, and because the Eagles won, I took it home. Yeah.
Nice. If the Eagles would have lost that Super Bowl, would you have thrown it away promptly?
No, I just wouldn't have taken it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but it's cool. Yeah, it's got the fleur de lis on it for New Orleans too. It's pretty nice.
Okay. Cool. I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? Oh, the CJ Gardner-Johnson thing with the Swifties.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
You guys have seen this, right? So
they're review bombing his mom's restaurant in Florida.
Yeah, CJ GJ said that Taylor Swift wasn't thick, and the Swifties are now review bombing his mom's restaurant.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, that's the same thing I said last night.
Well, first off, this just proves that Swifties, and I'm not talking about female football fans. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm Swifties in general who know nothing about football and they're just watching the Chiefs to watch the Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Doesn't belong here, because if you're getting that worked up about CJ GJ, we all know how CJ GJ is. You can't let him. You can't get angry at him, because this is what he wants. He wants I mean, he might not want you to review bomb his mom's restaurant, but he wants that hatred coming at him. So you're falling right into his fucking trap, dude. And also, second of all, to bring just an innocent woman into it is like, good God, you're gonna like ruin his mom's business.
Yeah.
Dude, it's outside of reality, because what she said is objectively reality. Now, you can accept that and you cannot accept that. But what I'm going to say is, you're right, dude. Nobody deserves to be review bombed. Nobody deserves to be treated like that on the internet. That's bullying. That's cyberbullying. That's illegal. And you guys should know this, because it was little girls that got cyberbullying banned in the first place. Now, do we forget the consequences of what we do sometimes? For sure. But this is toxic behavior. And this goes out to Taylor Swift to make this stop. This should have never happened. Taylor Swift should have never allowed her fans to treat her like this. And this is unruly. Now, I hope that she gets attention in her restaurant, though.
Oh, she will.
I hope it gets positive attention after the negative shit.
It's in Florida. That's all I know. But I've already heard that there are groups of Eagles fans like donating, and
I would hope so. I hope Eagles fans fight back. Yeah. Yeah, that just, I mean, I think maybe not Kai, but I feel like Dylan and I have both been mad at CJ GJ before for football related reasons. He punched a bear in the face one time. Didn't he?
I've been mad at him too. He's one of those guys where it's like, when he's not on your team, you hate him, but when he's on your team, you're like, oh, okay, he's all right.
He's football Draymond Green.
Basically,
dude, yes. I hated him for a while because of the Javon Wims thing. But thinking back on it, dude, Javon Wims sucks, and he stinks, and he's bad, dude. And he snatched his chain during a game. So, yes, do you get punched in the face for that? 100%. Dude, I think he should have ripped his helmet off and beat him up without consequence, because later in that game, Javon Wims had dropped a game-winning touchdown in the playoffs. Anyways.
Was that a playoff game?
It was. It was the Mitch Trubisky
Was that the double doink game?
No, it was the MVP game. It was 2020.
Oh, okay.
It was the first year of the 7th seed, and we were the first 7th seed, and we played like the first 7th seed.
That's right. He was on the Saints then, right?
Yeah.
The double doink game was against the Eagles, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and that was 2 years prior.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Commercials? Anybody have any good commercials that they liked?
They were all pretty good.
Yeah.
I hated the Seal one the more I think about it.
I hate
the Seal one.
I still don't think we're back to that peak era that you've been talking about, Brian. Yeah, we're not back to that yet.
That's why I said I got 1 of 3 for the bold predictions, because I didn't think they were great. I thought they were okay. They're probably better than they have been the last few years, but still not up to par with what we expect, I feel like, with Super Bowl commercials. Love the Totino's one with Tim Robinson. Love the Bud Light one with Shane Gillis and Post Malone and Peyton Manning. But we saw those before the game, even. Like, they were airing out for like a week straight before the game. So
we need more discrepancy. Discretion. We need them to keep these Super Bowl commercials absolutely under wraps. And I have two demands. I have two demands that you make Shane Gillis in some way or some form do direct, star in, or both, or whatever Bud Light commercials in perpetuity.
Yes.
For as long as he lives or wants to do it. Now, that's not an option. That needs to happen. I'm gonna pull some strings. Number two is same with Tim Robinson. Let Tim Robinson do one commercial for the Super Bowl, because I guarantee you they will get better and better and better, and they will grow on America.
True. I would love, and you won't ever know what brand Tim Robinson is starring in every year, so it'll be like a surprise when he just pops up and it's like a McDonald's ad or something. I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Just give Post Malone, Shane Gillis, and Peyton Manning, all three of them. Give them Bud Light commercials for Bud Light. Give them Bud Light commercials for the next at least 5 years. I would say.
Also, Pat McAfee, his little commercials were okay. They were
High School Principal.
Good. I like that. Give him another shot as well. He's a polarizing star. I think they need to go more into the production and storyline of these commercials like they used to. Like the Budweiser commercials with the horses and the Coke commercials.
Oh, yeah.
The polar bears and like the different, it was like the Budweiser frogs. And there was another one there was another company that did all these commercials, but there's no more flow and rhythm to it. It's broken up. It's different. It's commercialized. There's no more heart to it. We need our heart back.
Doritos usually has a banger or two every year. I can't remember which one the Doritos one was this year.
They were all lackluster, dude.
I like the Haagen-Dazs Fast and the Furious one, but that's just because I'm a Fast and the Furious dork.
Yeah,
so I kind of like that one.
That was good. They were just smooth riding, dude.
Yeah, the Walton Goggins one was kind of funny too.
It was okay. Yeah, Walton Goggins goggles or whatever.
Yeah.
We had Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady yelling at each other for racism or something like that.
That was
insane. They showed that one a few times.
Bad one.
Yeah,
it was a few times.
Can we stop with the skin hat, dude?
Oh, that one was bad.
They showed that like multiple times. Why would
they were different ones every time? I think too, right? It was like a story arc.
They all had different skin hats, dude.
The
wizard. One was a wizard, I believe.
The mustache one was kind of disturbing as well.
The mustache one, I've seen the mustache one too for the last couple of weeks. They've been airing that one for a while too. That one was okay though. The James Harden and Nick Offerman.
It's a little disturbing.
Disturbing, but it was kind of funny. I think you got mine. I like it better.
Yeah. But going back to the game, like one last point I kind of wanted to talk about though too. I think this was like obviously winning a Super Bowl is good, but I think it was like just important for Nick Sirianni winning respect with the Eagles fan base because he's been there for 4 years. They've all been good years. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 4 straight playoff appearances. But at the same time, I feel like he didn't fully have the respect of the fans up until this point. But granted, like we were talking back to earlier, it doesn't mean shit because if you do bad the next 2 years, you could be out of town.
Yeah.
One last
Big Fangio, dude.
Big Fangio.
Yeah.
Amazing season. Amazing game.
If a coordinator could get MVP, I think he should have been in consideration for sure.
Kind of solidified himself as obviously we already knew he was one of the best DCs, but kind of solidified his name in history as a top tier defensive coordinator. He's never won the Super Bowl before, has he? I don't think he has.
Fangio did. I think he might have, dude.
Oh, really?
He might have one time.
I believe he lost the Super Bowl.
Eagles now 59-12 when AJ Brown plays since 2022, including playoffs. Pretty good. I believe also that means the Eagles were undefeated this year when Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown all play. I think they were like 12-0 or something like that this year.
That was his first Super Bowl win.
Good for him.
Damn.
59-12 stat came from Marcus
Also, he was
0-8
versus Mahomes up until this game in his career.
Well, those years, 2 years in Denver, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, that happens.
Sucks.
One last thing, I guess, before we stop this is who do we think will be the opening night's opponent for the Eagles? It's got to be the Commanders, right? Commanders or Cowboys, I would imagine. So these are the options here. Yeah. These are the options right here. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, obviously. The Bears, the Raiders. The Lions, which would be an interesting one, too. I didn't even catch that the Lions were available.
Dude, honestly.
The Rams could be up there, I guess, and then the Broncos.
I'm thinking the Lions just because maybe people would want to see what happened in that NFC Championship game. I know, granted, the situation will be different a year from now, but
I think it'll be straight year that the Lions open, though.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah,
it's not true. It was Ravens Chiefs this year.
It was Ravens Chiefs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And last year it was Chiefs Lions.
Then Chiefs Lions. Yeah, so I think they'll go with a different combination.
I think it'll be Manders.
It'll be the Commanders because that's actually a playoff matchup from this year.
And Jaden Daniels too. The NFL wants to put their star rookie. Well, he won't be a rookie anymore, but star young quarterback on display against the Super Bowl champion.
Have they ever done a divisional matchup week 1 though?
Yeah, of course.
It's like
I guess the kickoff game.
Yeah, the Giants played the Redskins after they beat the Patriots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and you know what? I won't be surprised if it's Chicago either. Something tells me I'm just primed for a fucking absolutely big time fucking horrible ass kicking week 1.
Honestly, I think the only ones that I think the ones that I have like none of them I'm at like 0%, but I like close to 0%. I think are the Bears, Raiders, and Broncos. I don't think any of them make any sense. Of those, I would say the Bears make the most sense because they're NFC opponents and they have a young quarterback, and the Raiders and Broncos just make no sense. The Rams would be another playoff rematch, so I could kind of see that, but I feel like the Commanders are more marketable than the Rams are. I guess depending on the offseason moves. The Giants would be lame, but I guess I could see them doing that.
Cowboys.
I think Commanders 1, Cowboys 2, Lions 3 for me. I think those are the most likely opponents.
Dude, if it's Eagles Lions, I think we're treated to a fucking amazing.
That would be
game.
Fantastic. Yeah,
that'd be the one I'd most like to see for sure. I think
for sure. Yeah. I would like to see that because that is what we regarded as, and we'll be honest about it. The 2 best teams in the football were both in the NFC this year, and that was the Eagles and the Lions. Like we can all agree that those were the 2 best teams. Chiefs, I know they won 15 games, but it was markedly different than they've done before. So.
Man, I think we got robbed of a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl at the end of it all.
The Eagles would have destroyed the Bills.
I mean,
it wouldn't have been this bad, but I don't think that game would have been that good.
I mean,
either,
I think
honestly.
the Eagles would have won, but it would have definitely been a better game.
No, dude, this is the sweetest possible fucking thing that could happen is the Chiefs getting all the way there and then getting bled out.
Yeah, no,
in front of everyone.
I agree. This was justice being done. Like everyone saw that this was a team that did not belong here. The better team won in front of everyone.
The Chiefs are too busy filming commercials, dude.
Yeah,
get on the football field, you bums.
I do not want to see Jalen Hurts doing a chunky Campbell's Chunky Soup commercial.
Me neither, because he has 0 personality.
Dude, did you see that interview of him at Disneyland? And they were asking him questions.
It was awkward. Yeah,
it was like they were asking like a 7-year-old who couldn't hear what you were saying. All these questions, huh? It was bad, dude.
He's a weird guy. God, I was gonna say one other thing now. Oh, did you see Mahomes wore the Eagle green suit before the game? Like legitimately the same color as Eagles uniforms, the entire suit, tie, and everything. And I was like, that obviously isn't an accident, I imagine. Shit talking, and he just got himself fucking just shit canned, bro. So that's pretty funny. Karma. Go Birds. All right. I think that's it. Anybody else got anything else?
No, dude. Just football is coming to a close, but looking at these upcoming things here.
It's been a fun season, but we got a fun off season ahead.
Yeah, here's the off-season schedule. So franchise tags are between February 14th, which is this Friday, and March 4th. Yeah. Scouting combine is the 27th through March 2nd. Free agency starts March 10th. Always the most exciting part of the offseason for me personally. I love like the first 3 days of free agency. It's so fun. And then the 2025 draft will be the 24th through the 26th of April. So that'll also be very fun and exciting leading up to that. So don't really know what we got planned yet for Saturday. We're going to move to Saturdays only for the off season. So we'll have a show on Saturday, but not next Tuesday. We'll figure out what we're doing on Saturday in the next couple of days. As always, you can find us at Raging Takes everywhere, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube. You can email us ragingtakes@gmail.com. I'm at Montana Sauce. On Twitter, Kai is at RTP Kai, and Dylan is at Such a Wise Fool. And we'll see you later. Congrats, Kai.
Thank you.
Go Birds. Birds.